Hello everyone, happy Friday. Welcome back to Lotus Path Holistics. This is Let's Be Honest with Leo and Luna. Happy Earth Day. Happy Earth Day!
Hi everybody! Happy Friday, happy Earth Day, and happy weekend!
Yes, happy Earth Day. Glad the Earth is here, you know.
Glad the Earth is here. Leo, you're fine.
Glad the Earth is healthy and, you know, it could be better.
Right. It's up to us to make it better.
Right. So we are here to speak to you about the next topic on our list of things to talk about, which is power. And specifically, let's be honest about reclaiming your power. You know, when you've lost your power, and there's many people have lost their power emotionally and physically, and then also losing the gift of spiritual power. That's what we're going to talk about, and I'm excited because power is a great topic to talk about. We don't really talk about it in the community much because it seems to be just a normal thing. Everyone just thinks they have power, but they don't understand to varying degrees that power does lead to other things in very different ways. So this week we're talking about the first outer gift. Now, what I mean by outer gift is gifts that are more actions, not really based on the mind or intentions, things that actually physically change your life, you know, and untapped potential, so things that sort of manifest over time, spirituality that actually shows itself, and all the things that deal with your outer circumstances. So we're here to talk to you about those outer gifts, starting with power. So introducing ourselves, I'm Leo, my name is Leo, and I am a Past Life Regression Therapist and energy practitioner. I love everything energy. And I love sharing my knowledge with you guys and how I see the world so that we can share opinions and come to a strong consensus.
And my name is Luna, and I'm a karmic resolution facilitator. So I work with karma, trauma across lifetimes, and I help you to resolve it in this life.
Yes. So yes, power. So when I came out with the video, what was your thoughts?
Well, I was just thinking that when we say power, it doesn't necessarily have to align. When someone has physical power, it doesn't align with the mental power, and it doesn't align with the emotional power, and it doesn't align with the spiritual power. So, for example, if someone is too eager to be physically powerful, it doesn't mean that the person is mentally, emotionally, and spiritually powerful.
True.
So these were kind of like, I think, my first thoughts of how power really works.
Mm-hmm. That's true. So the spiritual gift of power. So power itself is a spiritual gift for spiritual people. Now, everyone has power, no matter if you're a spiritual person or not. But spiritually, we're talking about more like a presence, or maybe like a willpower that's deep and very, very effective. You're just bright energy when you walk in the room, or the fact that people have a very strong sense of inspiration, inspiring other people. So a really good example is when you're in a room full of people and then that person walks in. Not that they're really that popular, but they just sort of have people gravitate towards them. They have a strong sense of energy and everything just revolves around them in a very natural way. So for all of us spiritual people, we can all relate. Because I know I can relate, and I definitely have had experiences where a lot of things sort of revolve around the energies that I bring in the room. And it just, I guess they call it what, the life of the party? Yeah, used to be. But now I'm just the life of the book club. I'm the life of the book club, meeting at the library, you know? Hey Sharon, nice to see you.
Hi Sharon!
Happy Earth Day.
Happy Earth Day!
Yes, our Earth is, 300,000 million years old?
It still has power.
Still has power, right. So I could definitely say that in the past I was definitely a center of a lot of parties. I was able to take energy within other people and then expand it outward and help people generate power. It's just part of being spiritual, really. A lot of spiritual people tend to be that way, where they sort of like are channeling a higher power and then helping other people channel theirs, and then it just grows up and it just becomes gigantic. So that is a lot of what you can expect when you have someone who has a lot of spiritual power and sort of like inherent abilities that deal with that power that's expressing itself. So definitely, there's also a negative aspect to that when people, you walk in a room and people want to attack you, and we have a lot of experiences here like that. But there's the negative and the positive power. The positive is you can make a strong impact to the people that you walk around. The negative is you can just drag people into a vortex of negativity, and then all they want to do is attack you. So that's different type of power because it's the way that people are reading your power. Your spiritual power definitely matters. So we spoke about power. Power is definitely about the strong-willed demeanor. So someone who is spiritually powerful is someone who is very aggressive, very like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Someone who's very mission-oriented. So a lot of spiritual people have spiritual missions. We'll have like, I am meant to do this in my life and I want to save these people, that. And also just lifting the spirit of other people, inspiration. So what do you feel about how power and our outer spiritual nature actually manifests in people's lives?
There's I have like a lot to talk about because like from my own experience throughout life and people I've also met, a very common thing that I have seen in my life and other people's lives is that some people don't really know that they have the spiritual power in a sense.
Yeah, that's
and true. They just, make themselves small and just like, I'm very humble and this and that. I'm just going to help people. And then you end up in a situation where you're being taken advantage of. Where once they feel that energy from you, so let's say that you're in a situation that everyone's trying to reach out to you. Text, phone, social media, you're overwhelmed. You're like, but what is happening? I have experienced it. Many spiritual people I know, they have experienced those where they're like, why do I get so many, people contacting me?
Mm-hmm.
And it is because, well, there are two things. Sometimes they want a piece of you because they see the power and they just want that energy,
It's true.
But some others, they just gravitate to you because they want you to be their savior. There are people like that, let me tell you this, it's just like they're just waiting for the light, to be so bright, and they're just gonna grab it and be like, finally someone is gonna help me. And there are also some other people who just want to use this as an inspiration. I have experience of that, and I can just say it's pretty intense. And the thing is that the more that you expand on your spiritual path, the more that the intensity changes. Right. So let's say that if you look at yourself 5 years ago and yourself was getting attention of maybe none or a couple people, and then you end up in a situation where everyone is talking to you and you don't even know why. Sometimes you might even know why. People do see the spiritual power in you, and in a sense of see, at least, my expertise is they remember subconsciously who you were in your past lives. And so because of that memory comes forth, they can't really tell what it is, but our collective mind just remembers. And so they just like, that person feels familiar, like I feel should talk to them. So it means that you have done that before, and so people naturally gravitate towards you.
That's true. So power comes from spiritual consciousness. Spiritual consciousness is a lot of the emotions, a lot of the spiritual energy bodies. So we're dealing with the chakras, the auras, all of that centers around the soul energy, and it's the soul consciousness as well. So when you have a lot of power, you have a lot of energy generating inside of your soul consciousness, and it's just so much that it just comes out based on your thoughts, intentions, and your awareness. So being one with that spiritual consciousness is important for spiritual people because we have a sense of power, and that comes with a lot of responsibility, which I want to talk about today. Because the spiritual gift leads to advanced gifts. And the advanced gift of power, having spiritual power, having large amounts of it, is influence and leadership. And influence in the way that you influence people around you. And, a lot of spiritual people can definitely relate to this. You have a strong, okay, so some people say the gift of the gab, right? Or just being able to speak to people and they just do stuff. Or to be able to inspire people just by saying things or by doing, and people just follow your lead. There's a strong presence in you. Sometimes it's not just charisma and the things that you say. Sometimes it's just your spiritual power is very high or it's just open. And people want that. They want that positive energy. If you give positive energy to it, it becomes positive. If you give negative, it becomes negative. So that's just the way it works. And the advanced skill is influence. Being able to influence people. And some people use it to their negative advantage. Like, for instance, a lot of people who even, I'll say it, create seminars based on things that are very common sense. They'll use their influence to gather lots and lots and lots of money from people who are just in need of attention, but not actually giving people what they need so that they could just survive on their own. Not giving them the skills that they need to just move forward. So there are a lot of people that take advantage of large groups of people, and they do this by using their power in a negative way, using it to influence people to do what they want them to do. Becomes negative. And also leadership, every spiritual person has I believe, they have a responsibility in this life to be some sort of leader, to lead the pack in a way, to inspire people and lead them to a better world and a better, potential. So every spiritual person has that responsibility to actually be a great leader and role model. We have all this power and we have so much spiritual energy, you got to do something with it. So there's that in that advanced skill that we're going to talk a little bit about how to actually activate that and how to use it in the right way. So let's talk about the power of influence, and then we're going to talk about the negative curse of power. So the power of influence usually is the power of how it shines on you. Like, for instance, when I see chakras and auras and stuff like that, someone who's very powerful and bright, I will notice, and it'll just come off of their energies like a sun just exploding, right? That's how it happens. And so it really does influence other people. It's kind of like someone has a strong scent, whether it be good or bad, or somebody who is, or just someone walking around with a very bright light. You can see it. It's very there, That's the power of influence. The power of power itself is that it really takes control. And your just eyes go there, And the power of that, it's the power to really, truly inspire people and to inspire great changes of people. I've done that myself. I've inspired negative changes, but I've also inspired positive changes. And it's a natural skill that I just take the power within, use it holistically, and then embrace it so that people can just heal. It really helps. And the power to lead people to their greatest potential, as I discussed, and also to lead them to, their great healings, as well as control over reality and energy. So one of the more advanced skills that a lot of negative people use, but positive people use when they actually learn how to just balance themselves out, as I mentioned, is influence. And some people call that suggestion.
Yeah.
Where you suggest something to someone and they just do it. That comes from your spiritual consciousness. It comes from your power. If you have so much of it, you can actually push it out, like push out your aura and then cause that aura to capsulize other auras, and then everyone in the room starts acting the same. You got to be careful with that because it can backfire heavily. So that's the power of influence. And what do you think about that one?
I have a story to share actually, and I mean Leo knows about that one. It's like one of the most recent ones, and in my previous workplaces wherever I've been, I always strive to help people and actually help them to stand in their own power. That's a theme that I stand for, and I love when people are empowered and they don't and I don't like the fact that when managers and CEOs or whatever, they just talk down to you, they don't treat you as a human being.
True.
And in my last job, there was a huge incident where technically my life was in danger, let's say like that, physically. And so one of my managers, she actually suggested that I should service the person who, you know, almost threatened my life. And I stand for myself. And so I said that I am not going to accept this. I am not going to allow this. And I said, if I have to set an example and quit, although I make quite a lot of money, although I had, you know, a bunch of stuff that happened in the company where I was being acknowledged for my good work, I said, for the good of everyone, I'm just gonna make that move and just leave. And so I wrote a really big letter where I said I supported these people who were working with me, co-workers, and I said, you know, I really want these people to be safe, and when I leave, please keep them safe. I almost was not safe, but I want these people to be. And so I went to my previous job some days ago, and I met one of my co-workers, and she said, oh, you're back. I'm like, yeah, how's it going? And then she hugged me and she was like so emotional. I'm like, what is happening? She said, when you left, you inspired people to speak up and actually file complaints against the manager. And the manager who put so many people in danger actually got fired. And also many people got inspired to leave a job that was not good for them. And I was in tears, and I really wanted to do this for people, and I just realized, oh my God, that one move that I just made influenced a couple hundreds that they were working in the store. And that was really, really big. And so, you know, your words, your work can actually inspire people to a degree you can't even imagine. I would have never thought. If I didn't, you know, go back to the job just you know, to see it, I would have never known that this happened.
True. And my most recent experience was around New Year's and stuff. I was with a part of my family, and I haven't seen them in a long time, and I decided to take the initiative and go ahead and use my influence to get people to work together to see each other more often, because they don't. And I was like, all right, let me just take control. I'm going to take like a piece of paper, boom, boom, writing everyone's name down, like boom, 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 this is what you can do, this is what you can eat, boom, 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 boom. And it worked. It worked completely. As soon as I pushed the button, everyone just started doing what they needed to do to actually be in each other's lives. So I do understand my power and my influence, because if I could say something that's actually meaningful, I can help people in a positive light. So it's something that, you know, I do when I feel like it's necessary. I do it at work too, and I do it a lot of times just to help people see that there's more potential that can be done in a space, in a reality like that. But yeah, let's talk about the void. So the curse, okay? Every gift has a curse, as we've been saying. No gift comes without the potential for a negative outcome. And having a lot of power in your life actually can come in the form of a curse, which I call void. And it's also like vampirism, like a black hole, void itself. And void itself is the void of power. So it's when somebody uses all their power in a negative way, as if everything is inverted and it just sort of just sucks everything in. So it's like that difference when you have someone who's super influential, what they don't even have to try, and they walk in a room and they just suck the energy out of the room. Like, we all know that to be, you know, energy vampires, but usually a lot of energy vampires are very powerful people. It's just that they don't know how to use it, or they use it in a very negative way, or they just choose not to use it in a positive light, so then it just absorbs back into their body, and they just take other people's power. They, instead of building up them, they just build up themselves. So void can come in many different forms. Like we had discussed, like when people come attacking you for no reason, it's usually because there's a negative energy around your own power, and you haven't owned it, you haven't reclaimed it, and which we'll talk about today. And it's just there's that real understanding that power is not just power. Power is consciousness. And if your consciousness has issues, or you have issues, or you have a feeling that you don't get out, or some negative energy within you that you just don't want to express, it just comes out. And instead of inspiring people, you just drain people, or you just push people away, and you become a lonesome person with so much power and no one to help and no one to hurt, you know? So it happens. And we see it a lot in our community, in our spiritual community. There are people who feel that they're very influential, but they're actually just dragging people in and using them. And it becomes very, very vampiric and dependent, you know? People are usually very dependent when they are giving into the void of the power of the curse of power. And independence is when you're actually being spiritual and owning your spirituality. Yeah, have you seen that as well?
I have seen that quite a lot in many forms, actually. And it can be really, really scary because it can be both ways, you know, because you see people, you know, seeking that power, and when they see that influential person, they just want to, you know, connect with them. And then the person who wants to connect with others, but to actually, how we say, energetically court them into their own, you know, network, just force a spiritual network around them and make people need them. And at the same time, that spiritual leader needs them. And there is that, you know, there is a link between that is not healthy. And so it is very important to know that the more you cultivate your spiritual power, the more you will be attracting people. And so think of it this way. Even if you are, you know, the only person who is spiritual in your community and everyone else is not, a lot of things that you say will matter. So let's say, you know, today's Earth Day, let's do recycling, and everyone gets inspired to do it. But then imagine now, say, let's do a full moon ritual, but not a good one, you know, just like a bad one, just like call, you know, a bunch like of entities and other stuff. Like, let's channel things and just like move them around, and like, oh yeah, let's do it. And then you just, you know, create like an event or just like gather with people just like for fun and just have a bunch of entities having a party with you. Like, okay, what did I do? And then these people, I know someone told me that you can just take that entity home, you know. It's just like, what do you do? And say, Leo, with big power,
with great power comes great responsibility. Spider-Man said it, he was right.
So it is exactly that. And,
it is.
And I feel that we really need to double check ourselves. It is very, very important. And I mean, at least like for me, I always go back and see where I am, where I'm going. And when I write my posts, you know, on social media, or when I talk to people, I'm so very careful what I say. And I'm so very careful how I use my words and how I even suggest things. I go far beyond to make sure that I don't make people need something that they're going to regret later.
True.
I think this is I would just say my biggest fear, because I work, you know, for sales for quite a lot of time, and it's scary because you try to make people buy things and you try to persuade them. And I just realized that I kind of had the gift I didn't know. You can just get fired. But then later on, when it comes to my business, I'm like, I don't want that. I don't want to make people buy. I don't want to suggest anything. I just want people to naturally get attracted to what I do. And it comes from the sense where I know my spiritual power, I know where I stand, and I know how much I can influence others. But I don't want to be a leader who leads others. I want to be a leader who inspires others to be leaders themselves. And it's very important to be the leader of your own life and your own, spiritual community.
That's true. Yes, and at any point, if you guys have any stories to share about power, the negatives and the positives, feel free to share here in the chat or afterwards in the comments. We'd be happy to give you advice.
Yeah.
And also share stories with you guys as well. We'd love to hear your stories. Well, it's very true. It's very true that with great power does come great responsibility. Sorry to quote Spider-Man, but it is what it is. There's other very intelligent people who've said very similar things in a different way, but it's just the best way to say it. So yeah, it just, with all that power, I myself and Luna, I mean, you have to really take into account of who you are. We're going to talk about those steps in about a second. Before that, let's talk about power in past lives. So in past lives, everything was more spiritual in general.
I miss past lives.
Right? Just want to go back.
Like go fly and just like control the weather, all that cool stuff that we used to do.
Yeah, the power was very hard to lose though, because there was a strong sense of connection with it. In past lives, you really couldn't lose power, You couldn't really, your power was almost like an expression of you, because your power was your spiritual consciousness. So it was just your aura. People can see it, they can feel it, and that's how it was in past lives. And this lifetime, everything is very restricted, I would say. And it's, people with power have the gift of influence, right? And it's unfortunate that in this world, too many, very little people actually have the power. And not a lot of people have the power to control their own life and control their own reality. In past lives, it wasn't like that. There wasn't really a lot of leaders trying to control the masses, but in this lifetime, very much. So the power is not necessarily in your hands all the time in this lifetime, and you have to be so responsible with your power. Otherwise, it turns negative, almost by default. And if you don't use the power, it just explodes on you anyway.
Well, I want to say that, when it comes to movies, your favorite movies, the power movies, I know, X-Men, if you're watching, or, Star Wars, all that cool stuff, right? Mm-hmm. These are not really just movies. Those people who wrote them, they actually remember. And they're memories, right, Leo? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it is not just, it is not just a movie, something to watch. And you can just tell afterwards how many people are being influenced by it, because they remember, they're like, oh my God, I resonate with this, I just don't know why, but I do.
It's true. Yes, so let's talk about 3 important steps on reclaiming your power. So I posted a video about 2 days ago on Wednesday about my best tips on how to reclaim your power. So I tried to break it down very simply into 3 steps on how to get there, and also to understand how to reclaim that power. So there are different types of reclaiming of power. There's the personal power, reclaiming personal power of confidence and, your life being taken away from you in many ways. But then there's just spiritual power itself. And reclaiming that power, because it's just out there, it's just all over and it's unorganized, and you just have to reclaim it back to yourself. Number 1 is about taking accountability of who you are and what you are. Biggest step for me. You cannot embrace your power if you don't know who you are. It's just the way it is. You can try to use it, but it always comes out disorganized, and there's a reason for that. So, in this world, we are born alone, and, we leave alone, and therefore we are responsible for ourselves and our power. And we're responsible for how we affect people. We can't just go around affecting people spiritually and then not take responsibility for it. It's not fair. And when you do that, you become selfish. And you have to be able to understand, if I'm a very powerful spiritual person, a spiritual being, and I walk into a room expecting that I'm not going to affect other people, then I am sorely mistaken. You have to know that if you're spiritual, I accept I am spiritual. And I accept that no matter what room I walk in, I'm going to have a strong possibility of influencing people, so I need to make sure it's a positive influence, It's just the way it happens. And things you can do to actually find out who you are is you can try past life therapy, try to talk to someone who's a professional, and just try to find out who you really are. You know, do things to reflect on yourself and find out what you are so that you can understand the source of your power. Because every source of power comes from within. So who you are is your power. So when I look at people and I see their power, I know that that's expression of who they are. It's a soul expression. So you really want to get to know who you are and all of that jazz. Number 2 is about finding the source of your spiritual power, which I'm discussing now. And, because finding every spiritual gift, it's crucial to finding exactly where it comes from. So when you discover who you are, you suddenly start to find out, exactly where it comes from. Because you find the source in a past life, in this life, maybe an inspiration. A lot of people who think they're witches and stuff, maybe they had inspirations when they were young, as children. There's a source to the power. You have to grab it and take control. So then by reclaiming that, you want to basically reclaim your spiritual nature. And you want to actually find out what that spiritual nature is. So as a clairvoyant, I see that when I look at souls, the spiritual nature is the way that the soul acts. And if you want to find that out, you want to find your purpose and your mission, you want to find out what you're here for, and that unleashes your power, we can say, and honestly, that we were most powerful when we were embracing our soul path, and the path just goes. So much power you find when you're actually choosing your soul path in some sort of way. So that's number 2. And the final step is becoming a positive influence. As we were discussing, it is very important that you actually do good with your power. If you do not, it does backfire eventually. Somewhere down the line, And your spiritual power affects people around you, we know. And especially if your power, especially if you're practicing it. You're taking your skills and you're doing readings, or you're taking your skills and you're healing people, you're healing the people in your family, your friends. This is really good. And you take this and you become that positive role model and the positive influence in your community and in your family, and you'll see that power really starts to take form and become a very beautiful thing. So showcasing that power to other people and inspiring people is a really good step. So that's my personal 3 steps on how to actually reclaim that power, because if you lost it, which we all lost it at some point, to get power back in your life, spiritual power and spiritual presence, even in your business, you want to be able to, number 1, take accountability for who you are, know who you are. Number 2, you want to find the source of your passion and your spiritual power and your soul path. And number 3, you want to become a positive influence in your life and a positive influence in your work life and your love life, every life. That's going to help you reclaim all your power and live in your truth. And I think it's a beautiful thing. So, yeah, those are my tips. How about you?
I have a bonus tip.
A bonus tip.
Yeah, so to be able to reclaim your spiritual power, you need to deal with your trauma. And that is very, very important. Because when we're dealing with trauma from this lifetime, from our childhood, adulthood, past lives, that energy, that trauma is hindering our growth. And so when you try to move forward, when you're trying to understand who you are, all that you see is other people. And so when you try to move forward and see who you are and say, oh, this is what I'm doing with my life, this is where I'm going, hey, girl. So this is where I'm going, this is what I'm doing. And you just see and feel everything that has happened to you so far, from your childhood and adulthood, and having regrets. Oh, I wish I've done that. I wish I was there. I've said that many, many times. Even now, sometimes I say it, because when things get tough, I'm being challenged, right? Many, many times. And I said, I wish things were different. But then I have to remember that they happen for a reason, but also there's something still that I need to work on. And or even remind myself that because it is trauma related, I need to remember that I cannot control it anymore. I just have to let go, and I just have to embrace the path that I'm in. But before before all that, before even dealing with my trauma and just let it floating around, first of all, it negatively affected a lot of people. Leo knows. So we're just being placed in just people who just see not just me who I am, but just the projected trauma. Because when you don't deal with it, and you're a spiritual person with lots of power, the first thing that they see is your triggers. The first thing that people see is your trauma, and they see everything that you went through. It's kind of like you're broadcasting and you have even no clue that you're doing it.
True.
And so no one sees who you really are because you haven't dealt with what is around. And once you take control of it and you understand that this is where I'm coming from, this is what I've been through, but that doesn't define me, and you know what that is and you have resolved it, this is when you're able to tap into your power and just bloom from there.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Because as I say about healing, which we'll talk about in 2 weeks, every healer is as balanced. Every healing is as balanced as the healer is. And the same goes with power. Because if your power is corrupt with negative memories, and you can't stop it, then your power suddenly becomes corrupt as well. It becomes tainted by these memories that you can't get out of your head. Because it's your spiritual consciousness, it is expressing your past lives, your present life, your emotions, your deeper secrets. And you know how we say, like, when there's a lot of people keeping secrets, you can feel it. It's because you keep those secrets in your aura and people can feel it, you know? So especially people who have lots of power and lots of spiritual influence, even as children, teens, adults, people know what you're doing and they always want to be involved.
And you're always suspicious.
I know, they're always suspicious of you. But you know, there's a lot to take in, because the truth is, well, Luna's right. If you don't solve your own trauma and things that get stuck in you and things that stop you, your spiritual power is going to be halted and stopped in its progress. So always remember that. Bonus tip is so important. Face yourself. 100% face yourself, because finding yourself, it's great, but you need to face your trauma and face everything that you need to do in your life, because otherwise it's a mess. It's a mess, and people can feel it. They can feel it when you walk in a room. So we're going to give our final thoughts on power and understanding it. So generally speaking, spiritual power in my life has been quite interesting, because I know that I have it. I don't try to use it on more than one person, and large groups of people, unless I'm trying to heal them or help them. Because I have acknowledged that spirituality is a gift and a curse. And sometimes you can use this gift in a very negative way. You know, as a teenager, we go through a lot of things and that our parents don't understand. And I found it, in my desires where I wanted to hurt people for hurting me. And these are things now I look back and I'm like, wow, I'm happy that I stood mature and I stood to myself. But I had the potential to use my power in negative ways. Instead, I took a path to using it positively and using it effectively and efficiently in another way. And I know that there's so much potential in that, but I also know that it's my responsibility not to hurt people in an indirect way. It's not fair. And I know that karma is real, and if I hurt people indirectly, it'll come back to me. And I don't want that. No. Bye, karma. I don't want to deal with it. Yeah, I know that I am a person with a very, very high energy, very high spiritual essence and presence, but I don't show it because it's no one's business. I don't want to affect people in a negative way when I'm feeling negative within. And when I want to feel positive, I need to choose so. So it needs to be at a time that makes sense for other people. Specifically, like these lives or, my videos or helping my clients. These are times where I can just let loose. But letting loose in public, irresponsible. It's not right. You don't go to a club and just get drunk and allow. This is what happens every day, isn't it? This is what happens every day. Every day. And the most powerful people are people there just drinking in the club, and they call them the popular people. No, they're the most influential people. They have to do nothing to influence people. It's not about how sexy they are. It's about how much powerful influence in their spirit, their aura is growing in the club, and then it's just taking over, and people are dancing with them. They're like, oh my God, oh my God. It's so irresponsible. That is a childlike thing to do. And as an adult, you got to stop doing that. Okay? I'm just going to tell you.
I mean, dance in the club, just don't influence everyone else around you.
You need to know how to enjoy yourself in your own little bubble. Okay? Because no one needs to deal with your problems. Spiritual people have this ability to be able to throw problems around and put it in other people if they wanted to, and that's not okay. Because it comes rubber banding back to you eventually, and it hurts twice as much.
You know what I'm thinking? Have you seen like those? Okay, I'm gonna have to say it. I can't hold back.
Okay,
I will say it. You know those Facebook posts that someone says, "Today I feel terrible. I feel this, and that." Who feels like that? Everyone's like, "I feel like that," and you see like 200 people. I'm like, don't tell me all the sudden 200 people feel like crap.
That's true.
It's just the person, you know, the way that I put it there, that energy. Everyone resonates and they influence so many people. Even if they don't feel like that, they find a moment. They're like, maybe they're right. Maybe I have to feel like that. I've heard that before. Someone said maybe I have to feel like the other person feels to feel that sense of community. And so because they want to feel that sense of community, say, oh, I feel like crap too. And so you have like, I feel like crap too, like 300 people. I'm not talking about likes. I'm talking about response. Like 300 people saying, following the trend, like, me too, me too. It's like, that's so irresponsible.
I think it's irresponsible.
You know?
It's creating a void space where everyone could just dump their garbage emotions, and that's not right.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to do anything about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. It's like, you know,
just having people express yourself for likes.
No, not even give advice. You know, just like I feel like this.
That's abuse of power. I mean, we see it every day, but that's abuse of power. I see it all the time. Influencers using their ability to influence large amounts of people and abusing their power. And then you wonder why these things happen to influencers and celebrities, because you attract just as much positive and negative attention. Because what you're doing is you're being abusive to the fact that you are so powerful, but you're using it for materialistic or personal gains. Karma is real. Like, do I need to do a series on karma so people understand it? I don't get it. Yeah. It might not take effect now, but it will come back and you're going to be like, oh my God, why? Because you're being irresponsible. So with great power comes great responsibility. Spider-Man said it, he was right, you know? And with spiritual abilities, it's the same. Because the spiritual ability to have powerful influence and use your aura and affect large groups of people. You know, when, you know, like these yogis, they walk into a big hall and they're like, you know, helping people meditate and stuff. That's great. But sometimes it's not necessary. Maybe you just need to help people with what they need to be helped with. Sometimes people are coming to you and they need your help because they really feel lost. So meditating with a large group of people and charging $200 really doesn't do anything. That's abuse of power. I'm just saying, if you're going to help that many people, help that many people. Like, help them, talk to them. Let them know that you can relate to them. And let them know that we're all human. And then you help them bring out their trauma, help them get their trauma work. Then you meditate. That's what you do. But I just see way too many people influencing in the spiritual and in just social media platforms and celebrities, abusing their power, and that's not what you're supposed to do. You really need to take accountability for your actions. And know that when you affect large groups of people, it just causes negative reactions if you're not really genuine.
There's another thing I want to mention. It's funny. Me and Neil have went through that quite a lot. So we have been, you know, to social gatherings, especially family gatherings. And so people are like, oh, so you're not going to read me? Why? And kind of like they expect you to just go there.
Everyone
and
thinks we're holding our tarot cards in our pocket. Like...
But it's not just that. It's kind of
What
like,
are you doing?
I feel that this is so irresponsible. Just going to someone's face, okay, I'm gonna admit that. In the past, in my 20s, when I started, getting to know myself and understanding, my spiritual gifts, I could just meet someone like and say, "Hey, Leo, you used to be, I don't know, a policeman, in your past lives." It was like, wait, what? And it just threw a problem at him and just left, like, okay, just deal with it now. And
Yeah.
and then he would just be like, wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know. I mean, in the past, I couldn't control it. It would just come out. I just felt it's natural. And then everyone else not accept that I was feeling that it's natural, and I couldn't understand why. But it took some work to just, put boundaries and say, I have to respect someone else's, space. And then some people ask me now, look at me, tell me what my past lives are. I'm like, I'm not doing it like that. I am not going to invade your space just like that. And or some people just expect you, to just say, oh, tell me about my past lives, tell me about it, without even me asking why you're not doing it. Because it is spiritual power, and and if I say something that it's out of a session, because when it comes to a session, it means that sit down with a person and address their problem and solve it. If responsible is to give them information, have nothing to do with it. So let's say I say, hey Sharon, you used to be a mermaid. Sharon's be like, okay, I'm a mermaid, now what? What am I going to do with it? You tell me I'm a mermaid, and then I create,
True.
She's questioning her. So it's like, why did Luna say that? She called me a mermaid. I called to call, like, hey, you used to be a construction worker, and you had like 3 wives. Like, okay, and why are you telling me this?
Now what?
Now what? And then I just leave it at that. Like, okay, now you deal with it. Like, that's so irresponsible. Or just like someone does healing, right? Just go, let me heal you, touch them, and just leaves them. Like, oh, I help you, I touch you. And it's just like for a second, and then sometimes you give them, part of your energy, and you just leave the person hanging, like, oh, did you really heal me? What do I do next? I've heard that a lot. People say, what am I doing next? Is that all? And then you can create confusion because you have that influence, you have the spiritual power. You need to be very, very responsible with it. That's an important lesson.
That's so true. I couldn't have said it better. There's a lot of people abusing power all around the world. There's even world leaders and politicians abusing power.
Let's don't go there.
Let's not even go there.
Oof.
But spiritual power is the same. It's the same concept. It's not different. When you have a lot of power within you, it's your responsibility to be able to use it in an effective way and make sure no one gets hurt. And expecting a person like me, who is consciously aware of other dimensions, right? To come up to you and read your energy as if, first of all, did you ask? Second of all, do I have permission? What? And third of all, why would I do that? I'm not even, like, if I'm going grocery shopping, I'm in grocery mode. You think I care? So it's like it's the same thing that celebrities complain about. Like, I just want to be normal sometimes. I'm just doing my haircut. It's like spiritual people have the same thing because they don't want to be bothered with things like you're also normal as well. And at the same time, it's just irresponsible to just throw your influence everywhere without thinking the consequences. And it's irresponsible to just read people's energies without permission. I just think it's complete. It's invasion of privacy. It's like, and it's also annoying. And you cause bad karma like that. I don't have time for bad karma. Okay? I don't have time for bad karma. Life's already hard enough.
It's okay, I can help you. You can get
karmic resolution.
Trust me, I'm the last person you need. That's what I tell everyone.
Yeah.
So you must went and work with every other healer, every other coach, and I'm the last person you want to see.
True, Sharon. True. It's true. So yeah, just so much. I could be here for hours talking about abuse of power and spiritual power. But yeah, I'll give. I guess the final thing I'll give is just my tip on how to embrace the power and use it. Like 2 weeks ago, I did meet someone for a consultation who had a lot of power, and they They just didn't know what to do with it. I told them straight up, I see in your energies that you're affecting large groups of people. You're affecting people even in your city, and everyone's affected by you. They either hate you or love you. She was like, oh my God, you know I'm right. That's so right. You know me, la la la. And I'm like, no, what are you going to do about it? Because if you have this, you got to do something about it. So, and she didn't want to do anything about it, and I'm like, to know you have power, you got to do something about it. Next thing you know, she comes to me a week later, like, oh my God, what am I going to do? It's just, I'm causing all these negative reactions. I'm like, because once you know the problem, the solutions start popping up. That's the way the universe works. And if I tell you there's a problem, just know the solution's coming, and you got to open your mind to it. And what I would suggest to someone like her who embraces your power and doesn't know how to use it yet is to sort of, just start to put spiritual into physical. Like maybe use crystal work, start to channel your energy into crystals. That really helps some people to be able to get the energy out. So doing a physical exercise, Tai Chi, boxing, martial arts, you can do that, meditation. There's lots of different ways to get your power out and to claim that power. If it's just so much power within you, is you really, really have to find out, like I said, where it comes from, find the source and grab it and use it. Once you use the power, you'll start to take control. It's like a muscle, It's like a muscle. Once you start using it, you really get used to it. And one of the biggest, hardships of having so much power is affecting people no matter what. Unfortunately, it's really hard to make friends because you either lead them or you follow them. And you can never be in the middle and never be respected. So a good point to having so much power is to make sure that you understand that unfortunately that leaves you to be usually alone, but that's okay because you really need to embrace that power instead of abusing it to other people, because that's why your life is falling to pieces. So any last words?
I think that would be all. Another thing that I wanted to mention about people receiving power. So if you are, let's say, some of the learning stages, and then you just learn about spirituality, and you just want to know different topics and just expand, right?
Yeah.
Just also be very in tune to whom you're talking, whom you're interacting, and how much you are absorbing, and also set boundaries. So if someone comes up to me like, oh, I'm just gonna pull a card, out of nowhere, like I'm giving you a reading, I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, you can just say no. So this is like up to your own power, spiritual power. Say, I'm not just gonna have energy being thrown at me. Oh, the other thing, where some people send you a video, like, watch that. Someone sent me a video. This is a must. It's urgent. Many people say that. Oh, it's an urgent video about 5D and just awakening and ascension, and you have to watch it. You don't have to watch it. Let me tell you that. It's up to your spiritual part to put boundaries and say, I am not gonna watch that if I don't feel that it relates to me. Not because someone just told me and I feel urged to. I have to be so urgent, I have to watch it. No, you don't have to. So this is where the other side of the spiritual, power comes to, where you know your boundaries and to say no. Sometimes it's okay. Many people send me videos. I don't watch all of them or articles. I just allow my intuition to tell me what's right. Or maybe sometime I will feel maybe months later, okay, now it's the right time for me to go there.
That's true, yeah. With spiritual influences, it's true. Like, if you're going to get really advanced, you have to start blocking other people's influence because influence can go both ways. So there's a lot of different ways that you can look at spiritual power. And we are happy to have expressed that to you today. It's been great chatting with you guys. We look forward to your feedback. Share the knowledge with your friends and family if you want. And if they want, because consent is important in the spiritual and physical way. But yeah, spiritual power, awesome, often misunderstood, but I hope that I was able to give you a lot of knowledge along the way and help you understand it from a psychic and karmic resolution and past life therapist perspective, that power is a very powerful thing, and influence is very, very powerful as well, but there's a lot to it. And I hope you guys have a great night as well.
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you guys for being here. Have a beautiful Friday, a
And
beautiful
Earth
Saturday to the
Day.
rest of the world. Happy Earth Day. Enjoy your weekend. Have all the fun in the world. Go dance in the club. Just don't influence everyone. Mwah!
Yeah. Oh my God. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.